Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Habita Dialogues. I believe it's actually the first episode that we've had this year, and I'm joined by the wonderful Sarah Meers. Now, some of you may be aware of what lasting power of attorney is, but many of us aren't actually. And it's that one thing that you really need to have in place when you're thinking about safeguarding your elderly loved ones, but I just don't think we know enough. So before I introduce Sarah Mears and we get into today's session, I just wanted to remind you who I am. My name is Katrina Douglas, CEO of OXLABS, and we're building Habita, an in-home wellness monitoring system to safeguard the well-being of the elderly. And Habita Dialogues is a monthly conversation where we speak to people like Sarah who are helping to safeguard the elderly and have a really important voice in aging well and keeping our loved ones safe. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
You
Thank
are
you. It's good to
welcome.
talk with you.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching, if you're having trouble hearing, just let us know. Apologies in advance. Hopefully it sounds okay on your end. If you let us know in the chat
Yes,
box. So welcome, Sarah. So we met at a coffee networking, a breakfast networking event
we
at
did.
Sister a few weeks.
We did a couple of weeks ago. It was so good to hear what you were doing and the plans and for the elderly, and just incredible what you're doing. And it was so good to meet other people as well, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about the industry. I didn't know how close knit it was and
Yes.
how rich the networks and the sense of community is around the elderly.
Yes.
It's,
Yes.
really, really good. All
Yes,
right,
definitely.
so we are talking about lasting power of attorney, and it's a decision that we often delay. So I guess first of all, it would be great to find out more about you, Sarah, your journey, your work, and what it is that you
Thank you.
do.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Well, I've been working with Mears Legal for just over 10 years. I work with my husband, Jeff. But really, up until last year, I was very much in the background. I was doing administration, making clients' appointments, and really assisting Jeff. And that was it. You'd never have seen me, hear me. I wouldn't certainly not gone to any networking.
Yeah.
And this is all very, very new now. But last year, everything changed. And last January, my father wasn't able to sign a standing order form. I mean, it's such a simple thing to do if you can do it, and he couldn't do it. And of course, that was the start of other things. That was just the start of it. So I used my power of attorney. I was one of his attorneys, and within a week, his bank account was on my online account. So what could have been a very stressful situation, it was already very stressful because we knew things were going downhill rapidly, but it saved so much. I was able then to take over all the finances and work with both my parents on that. So after that, I just thought, oh my goodness, what would I have done if I hadn't had power of attorney? And speaking to friends, and not everybody has them for their parents. Not everybody, even my age, have them. And I think, goodness, I really want to bring awareness to this. So I went off and did all my estate planning exams last year. So I am qualified in wills and other things as well. But really, it's lasting power of attorneys that I'm concentrating on. So that's what I want to do. Hence the networking, hence talking to you now, because it's one of the most important documents you can have while you are living.
Yeah.
And without it, you are so stuck. I think people assume that they can do things, but without it, and help family members without it, but they can't.
Yeah. It's so useful to know, because I didn't even know that even if you have a joint account, if you don't have lasting power of attorney, then you still could have trouble making decisions on behalf of your loved one. Could you just tell us, like in a simple definition, what is lasting power of attorney?
Yeah, it's a legal document where you ask your most trusted loved ones or friends to act for you if you're no longer able to do that.
Okay.
And that's what it is. So I talk a lot about choosing the attorneys as well, because they really are stepping into your shoes. If that's going to happen, they become your voice when you no longer have that voice. And it's such an important role. And it also means that your wishes are going to be granted. And without it, you don't have that voice.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. And so why do you think, Sarah, that so many people think about wills, they think about pensions, all of these other things related to financial legacy, but
Yeah.
sometimes we miss lasting power of attorney?
I think it's very difficult for people to get their head around. It's very difficult when, first of all, when you feel so well, to think there could become a time when you're not able to do things, first of all. And most people that actually do look at it is because they know of someone that has struggled. So they normally know the story. They normally think, oh, so-and-so's parents, oh gosh, thank goodness they had lasting power of attorney. Maybe that's what I should look at. Otherwise, the children would have struggled. So I think people really, really don't look at, I suppose that's part of how we are, isn't it? We don't want to really look at a time when we are going to struggle. And I read something earlier today. There's I think within 40 years, I think the over 80s population, I think I was reading, is going to double. Could be doubled. So we are going to have more elderly people, and hopefully they are all fit and healthy, but of course not everybody is. So but lasting power of attorneys, please don't think they're just for elderly. It's literally for any age. But one thing I wanted to say to you is, I read, and I wanted to get a percentage for you. 77% of adults over 55 do not have a lasting power of attorney.
Wow.
It's huge, and only about 14% of the whole UK population do.
Wow.
So it's something, that's another reason why I want to talk about it, why I'm going out there speaking about it, because people have got to know what happens if they don't have a lasting power of attorney.
Yeah. And what does happen if you don't have lasting power of attorney?
I think the majority of people assume, if you spoke to people, that if they assume that their spouse or their partner or their children will be able to step in and act for them and organise things for them and sort things out for them if they're no longer. And they can't do that. That doesn't happen. So you struggle. You literally, you can't handle any of the finances. You can't take care of medical decisions. You can't even sell a home. Even though you could be married and it's joint, even that's not possible without a power of attorney. So the only way out is a very, very stressful situation. It's to apply to the Court of Protection to become somebody's deputy. This costs lots more money. It takes a lot of time, and it already makes that stressful situation even more stressful. And it also, it's time delaying, so things will be put on delay for those other people until you've got that.
Yeah. It's one of those things, isn't it, Sarah, that in practice it seems like such a practical thing and such a simple thing, like let's do it. But I can imagine that it's quite a difficult conversation to have with your loved one, because do you think that in some cases there is this fear that people might think, oh, you're trying to take their money, or you're trying to take control? Because I'm sure there may be situations where, people don't have the best intentions. And so, there is that thought that maybe if I broach it may have the wrong effect, or do you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I mean, it goes back to choosing your attorneys. I mean, they have to be somebody you completely trust, and it doesn't have to be members of your family. If you've got a very good friend, trusted friend, or nieces or nephews, whoever, somebody that you trust, because literally you do have to trust them. And you do have to have that conversation. I mean, it's such difficult conversations. I also collect information for probate and things, and it's the same conversation. One of the kindest things you can do for your family is is to have a lasting power of attorney, but to have that conversation about what you want if you're no longer able to look after yourself.
Yeah.
What's your wishes if it's a life-threatening decision?
Yeah.
What is your, who do you trust with your money? And what do you want to happen? So those conversations are really, really hard, but this is what I urge everybody to have.
You have to.
Because otherwise you're in the dark. And also the role of the attorney, it's so much harder for them. If they don't know what mum and dad want, what do they do? They can't really act for you. It's not what they want, it's what you want. And that's why the conversations are so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's actually a way of empowering your elderly loved one, or whoever it is that you've given power of attorney to, because actually you're giving them the chance to say, this is what I want, this is exactly what I want to be acting. You're giving them autonomy, freedom, choice, rather than those choices in some way, if they don't have it, being taken out of their hands. And even if they do have it, like that person not being entirely sure. So I think power of attorney is part of a bigger issue around that autonomy, that more transparency about us having these types of conversations, whether it be a will, whether it be trust, whether it be, what happens if you pass away. I think they're not morbid conversations, they're part of leaving a lasting and impactful legacy.
Absolutely. Yes, conversations about everything. It's the hardest thing to hear is when you hear somebody say, one of their children say, I don't know what mum wanted.
Yeah.
And that goes to, like you were saying, about what happens when you pass away with the funeral wishes or anything. Families, I can't stress enough for families to have these conversations. Yes, and you're right, power of attorney is only one part of it. So it's looking at everything else surrounding that. Where do I want to live? Who do I want to take care of me? Yes, all of those conversations. And it's best to have those when you feel well.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it becomes a drastic, chaotic situation. And there's so much, and you probably will miss those conversations then. You probably won't have those chats.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does the LPA intersect with health decisions, care plans, and even physical health tools? Like, how are all those things connected?
How do they work, did you say?
How are they connected? So how do LPAs intersect with health decisions? Because, I think a lot of times we think of financial decisions and care planning. So how do they impact, or what is the intersection between?
Well, there's two. Do you mean about the different ones? So there's two. So the first one is property and financial, and then the next one is your health and welfare.
Okay.
With the prop, so there's two, so everybody can have two each, and that's what I would urge, to have both. Very, very different needs. So the first one, property and financial, is, like you mentioned earlier, looking after with even joint accounts. If you have to sell the home, accessing any other funds, sorting out pensions, anything to do with financial, that's what the property and financial LPA will cover. And also it can be used as soon as it's registered. So somebody might use it even if they're just having a hospital stay, or they've had an injury and they can't do something. That can be used immediately. It's such a useful document to have. You can even go to the extreme. You could be on holiday and something needs to be signed. Your attorneys could do it for you with that. The other one is the health and welfare. Now, this again, extremely important. This is not used until you've lost capacity. Until you've lost that ability to make your own decisions. But this will cover everything to do with care, to do with having on medication, to do with any decisions to do with your medical treatment, hospital stays, and life-sustaining treatment.
Okay.
So again, very important, but very, very different. Okay. I have heard recently that a few GPs locally to me, I don't know, I haven't got percentages on this, but more are actually asking for the health power of attorney for patients.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe there's been problems with maybe ordering prescriptions, unless you get that organised in advance that you've given authority for things. So you would need a power of attorney even to do that.
Okay. And do you always do you have recommendations on who people should choose or parameters around choosing?
Say that again.
Do you have parameters or do you have recommendations regarding who people should choose for their power of attorney? Because we assume that it should be a child, or is there like guidance on how to choose someone?
Yeah, so you can choose who you want as your attorney, whoever you trust. Now, some people do choose specific attorneys for specific roles.
Right.
And you are able to do that actually on the power of attorney forms. However, with that, there have been cases when that attorney is then not able to act. And
Right.
if that's the case, your LPA completely is not valid. So what I recommend is something called jointly and severally, so that your attorneys can either act on their own or they can act together.
Okay.
So it means that if something happens to one of your attorneys, or they can't act for you, or whatever it could happen, we never know what's going to happen, do we? This is we just don't know. It means that you can still have your power of attorney used by another attorney.
Right. Okay.
But I understand that some people are very specific about who does what and who do they trust. But I think when you're choosing attorneys generally, you need to trust them all. And again, go back to that conversation or write it down. What I recommend is to make it easier for your attorneys is to write down, for example, let's do the financial one, literally list of your accounts, your pension details, account numbers, sort codes. They don't need more information than that, but at least then they know who they need to contact if needed. And again, that can be reviewed regularly. And if there's this specific person, well, they can give that to that attorney and say, this is how I want you to look after this.
Yeah.
If it's somebody for the health, again, they can write down their wishes and give it to them. But then if they do that and not actually put it on the power of attorney itself, it means they can change. People change after an illness.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that what you want now is what you're going to want in 10 years' time. Yeah. And you don't really want to have to do your power of attorneys again. Once you've got them, you set them up. That's probably the best way.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? I wasn't sure.
It does answer my question.
Thank you.
So, how long does lasting power of attorney last? Does it have an expiration date?
No, not at all. Okay. No, once you've set it up, once it's registered at the Office of Public Guardian, it's last. The only time people change it is if they want to change their attorneys. So okay. probably if you were younger and you were setting it up, you may then redo them again, let's say when your children have reached 18, because you want your children to be your attorneys, if you've already set them up. But at the moment, I think everybody should have power of attorney, but my main push is over 50s, okay. Only for the fact that otherwise you just don't know. But we don't know when you're younger. Right? It's a very difficult conversation. We don't know.
No. It's why you have a will at any age. For me, my guideline is, for me as a parent, the minute I had children, like it doesn't matter. I was 20, 21, 25. I still had these things in place because from the time I had a child, it's just, well, I need to get lasting power of attorney. I don't have that as well. Everything else, because I just felt, well, now I have children, I need to make sure.
Yes. Oh, you've done absolutely the right thing.
Everything. Yes. So for me, it wasn't even anything.
Yes.
Making sure what I want pertaining to my children, pertaining to property is crystal clear.
Yes.
As soon as possible. Yeah.
I think that is so sensible, and that's the right thing to do. I just wish more people would do that.
Yeah, but no, it's good to know that now that we have this information. So, are there any mistakes that you think people make when setting up lasting power of attorney?
Say that again, sorry.
Are there any common mistakes that people make when setting up lasting power of attorney?
I think if they do set wishes in stone on the power of attorney, I think that's one of the, and I've come across families that have done that, and we have to start again.
Wow.
So set your wishes out, and that's so important, but let the power of attorneys always, it goes back to choosing your attorneys. Okay. It goes back to people you trust, and you have to trust those. Yeah. And if you start making specifics on those, like I said, that then that can change. So that's definitely a mistake that people make. And then they're stuck. If they need to use the power of attorneys, then they're stuck. They will not be able to use them. Okay. The other thing I recommend everyone to do is to register them online when they're registered. Okay. Because more and more organisations are asking for something called an access code. It's so easy to register them online as soon as you have them, and to do that, because that will make your attorney's lives a lot easier as well. Yeah. No, I think it all goes back to common mistakes is not doing one is the massive mistake. And secondly, you have to have the right attorneys, the ones that have got your best interest at heart, that will want to look after you, that will want to help you in these situations. Yeah. An attorney's life isn't always straightforward. It's normally they're running around, you know, they can look after the finances. Yes, they might be liaising with doctors, and they're organising moving home or other care and things. So your attorney has a lot of stress on them. So having these in place is the most important. Yeah. Yeah.
So what happens if someone doesn't have an elderly, like a lot of elderly people don't have family around them? In that case, what happens in those situations?
Well, just as I said earlier about the court of protection, you have to apply if you want to start making decisions. A good story, if I just share this with you, is, do you know Kate Garraway?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, she's a great promotion now for power of attorneys. So she basically went to try to get more funds for her husband's care. Everything was in Derek's name. Everything was in her husband's name. She couldn't access anything. There was absolutely nothing. And even though she was his next of kin, she wasn't able to see his medical records or anything. So what she had to do was go to the court of protection. And like she said, it was so stressful. So eventually she became his deputy. And then that is the same as having a power of attorney.
Okay.
But you really want to avoid that. It's a long process. It costs a lot more money. And also at that time, you're like, oh my goodness, I need money, or I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I need to move them, or whatever it is. And you're waiting for something that takes a long time. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And for those watching, I'm wanting to know how they can put one in place. How can people work with you? How can people contact you?
Yes, I'm the certificate provider, so I can sort out all lasting power of attorneys. I confirm their capacity. I facilitate all the signing, and I register them all at the Office of Public Guardian. So that's what I do. So yes, I'm at Meers Legal Services.
Perfect. Well, that's fantastic, Sarah. And so good to know. And here at OXLABS, we're all about ensuring that the elderly can live happier, healthier lives for longer, and making sure that administrative things are taken care of is a really important part of that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If you guys have struggled with my audio, my apologies, but I'll be sure to post a link to Sarah in the comments, and you can reach out to Sarah.
Lovely. I'd love to help. It's lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
And we'll speak soon. Those of you that are joining live, those of you who are watching the replay, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you, Katrina.